So it's been about a month since the iPhone 16 lineup was released. 4 new phones and a new generation of features. But some of these new features are questionable and customers aren't sure if it's worth the upgrade. The question is, should you upgrade your iPhone this Christmas? Christmas tends to be the next big time that customers will make this decision, or someone else will do it for them. The first time being the initial release of the iPhone. So I'm going to show you these new features on the 2 models that I have here, as I only have the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And hopefully with this help, you can decide if it's worth the upgrade. Let's start with the new phone bodies. Not that this means much to some, but the introduction of a new button called Camera Control is what makes a massive difference compared to the iPhone 15 lineup. And before that, Camera Control allows you to quickly access your camera app without having to unlock your phone. And this is a function that works as a button, but incorporates haptics with a light press. Light pressing once brings up zoom, and then double light pressing brings up the other camera functions, such as exposure, depth, and photographic styles. And that last one I'll touch on soon. If you do a full press, you activate the shutter and you can take a photo. A pretty cool concept, as it does make your phone feel like a proper camera with having a shutter button. But where my personal opinions lie is that it does work fine when the phone is in landscape mode, but the moment you put it into portrait, I feel that the button is awkwardly positioned. It's meant to be used with your thumb when in portrait, but I do find that I struggle to hold my phone one-handed, at least on this phone. Small hands mixed with a Pro Max model, they're not always a smart idea. It definitely takes some finesse to use this right, but even when you do learn the ways of camera control, a problem it has is when you do take a photo with it, you get a slight shake to the camera. This isn't ideal when you're trying to frame up some shots. I have no issues as a user using the on-screen touch functions, especially when it comes to zooming in, because I like using the fixed focal lengths. That way I can avoid going into digital zoom, because I don't actually enjoy that. The other problem I discovered was times I would reach for my phone and I would accidentally press camera control, so it would open up the camera app. But there is a simple fix for this, and that was going into settings and changing the press to a double press to open instead of a single press. You can actually also change it to open different apps if you want to as well, which I think is really cool, or you can turn it off completely. I like that camera control is on both phones, along with the familiar action button. This was an iPhone 15 Pro model exclusive, but now it's across all models of the phone, so the ability to easily customize your settings with these buttons, it exists for all. The iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Pro have had size increases as well, with the Pro Max coming in at 6.9 inches and the Pro at 6.3. It's actually been a while since I've had an iPhone Pro Max. The last one was an XS Max back in the day, but I am familiar with large Android phones. And yes, they're still far too big for me, because look at my hands, they're so small. But I can appreciate the extra screen real estate and the extremely thin bezels that they have given these models. But sticking with device bodies, there are new colors across the board too, and I have the gorgeous pink here for the iPhone 16 and the desert titanium for the Pro Max. I decked mine out with this OtterBox case too, which gives it that pink touch, and I have a little MagSafe stand. But this year really is the year of pink phones. I know that I'm starting off with a lot of camera talk, and to most people, it won't really be that important because iPhone cameras are usually pretty good across the board, right? But the issue is a lot of the new features with these devices, it does involve the camera. We have the new Fusion cameras in the devices, with the iPhone 16 sporting a 48 megapixel Fusion camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide, while the Pro Max has a 48 megapixel Fusion and a 48 megapixel ultra wide, which I personally love because I actually use that lens quite a lot. You can also capture spatial photos and video too, so if you do own Apple Vision Pro, you can view the content in there. Another big difference between the two is that the Pro Max allows for 4K 120 frames per second recording, and this means you can get extremely crispy clean and clear slow motion video. Huge for creators that don't want to buy a separate camera, and you can edit that footage directly in the Photos app. But sometimes video means absolutely nothing when the audio is poor. And one of my favorite new features across all models is Audio Mix. This allows you to go in and edit the audio of a clip to help drown out background noise and dial in on whoever is talking to the camera in your video.
So we are in Melbourne today, and I want to test Audio Mix. We are in Melbourne today, it's a beautiful day, and I want to test Audio Mix because it's obviously lots of people around me right now. Because there's obviously lots of people around me right now. I've got a busker to my left and trams have been going behind me.
This is possible due to the 4 studio quality mics that are built inside the phone that capture spatial audio. You do need to make sure that your mic setting in your camera settings is set to spatial and not stereo or mono for this feature to work. Trust me, I learnt the hard way when I was editing my settings. The last feature of cameras that I do want to touch on is photographic styles. Now, if you are someone who color grades and creates presets in apps like Lightroom, then this feature probably won't be for you. But shout out to my own mother because I know she's going to love this new feature. This basically gives you filters to use that you can customize and tweak to your own taste directly in the camera or photos app. The benefit of this is that rather than applying the setting after you take the photo, you can actually take the photo in that style from the start. Really cool if, for example, you're out and about and you want to quickly snap a stylistic picture in certain lighting, you have these essentially filters ready to shoot in. I love the way this feature works, and I had these portraits of me taken at the Apple Creator event a few weeks ago with the stark black and white style. I can also change these styles to others if I do want to steer clear of the black and white, even though that photo was taken in the black and white style. It's a really cool feature. So how is all of this possible? Because of a new chip update with the A18 and A18 Pro chip. For the spec lovers out there, here's what you're looking at with all these new chips. But to put it into simple terms for those who don't know what this means, essentially you have an overall better performance across the general use of the phone, the camera, the graphical power, and of course battery life. Doing things like using these new features and cool camera features, or playing games, using your phone for work. No one wants lag when they're doing these things. So every time Apple upgrades the internal chip, these things improve too. But the chip ties into the next topic. So let's talk about software before we wrap up this video. And iOS 18 is available on these devices, but we know it's also available on some older models too. And it introduces the new customization features where you can personalize your apps to look a certain way or a certain theme, as well as reprogram the shortcuts on your lock screen, which is worth doing since the action button and camera control are here now. The most important software topic is that these phones are ready for Apple Intelligence. And at the time of recording this, it still hasn't released, but there is a chance it is available now. So subscribe to be ready to check out a separate video from me on that when it gets here. So why am I using the Pro Max even though I say it's too big for me? The battery life on here is the best I have ever seen on a phone. I promise you that. I barely charge it, and if I do, I never do a charge to 100% anymore because I don't need to. Some days a 50% charge gets me through a whole day. With my iPhone 15 Pro that I had before this, on nights where I wouldn't charge it overnight, I noticed a 30% battery drop overnight, even when it's in Do Not Disturb. And obviously I'd notice that when I'd wake up in the morning. But with this, I'd be lucky to see a 10% battery drop overnight. I never had the iPhone 13 series, and I hear that the Pro Max back then was also the GOAT. But this is my first time with an iPhone battery that's been so efficient for my use. I honestly give it a 10 out of 10. So the question is, should you upgrade your iPhone this Christmas? If you're coming from an iPhone 12 or below, maybe even a 13, actually I think that's kind of borderline, well then I would say yes. We all know the history of older iPhones slowing down, but that shouldn't be the only reason why you upgrade. You would want a whole new and complete experience with the phone, and hopefully by the time Christmas rolls around, Apple Intelligence is here, which will make these phones that completely new experience. I'm personally really excited for it. Simplifying things that you do like email writing or removing unwanted objects and people from photos, heck, even a better Siri experience, because overall, we all know how poor that has been for so many years. All of these things are made possible because of Apple Intelligence. So to sum it up, these phones will give you more power, better cameras, new functions, better battery, and of course, better software experiences. I think that makes them a pretty worthy upgrade. I appreciate you all watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy your lead up to the holiday season.